Hi everybody, welcome to paradise and welcome back to my channel. Kira here, Island Socialist on Instagram, and my blog, which I don't really use anymore, is islandsocialist.com if you're interested. As usual, it's been a while since I've shown my face. Today is such a special day because I am taking part in the pattern hackathon hosted by Chris from On Social. I will leave her handle on the screen. Make sure you go and follow her. So we're having a hackathon series for the month of July. It started on the 16th and it's finishing on the 23rd. So from the 16th to the 23rd, you have two sewists every day hacking the same pattern to create two different looks. So today is my day and my partner is Emmanuel, and I'll put his handle on the screen. It's they call him _spade. He's a really cool dude. I've been following him for such a long time, and I was elated when Chris said that she drew our names together. So of course, since my partner is a guy, we chose a menswear pattern, Simplicity 9718. I will show you what the pattern cover looks like on the screen. And so he decided to hack the polo top, and I decided to hack the cargo pants. And you will have already seen from the intro and from my Instagram post that I made a maxi cargo skirt with a leg slit. So in this video, I will just be walking you through the steps of how I took that pattern from pants to a skirt. You're even going to see me make some mistakes. You know, I like to keep it real on here. And I hope you enjoy. And one more thing, we're having an amazing giveaway. So every day from the 16th to the 23rd, when the sewers post their looks on Instagram, they're also hosting amazing giveaways. And ours, I feel like I just got so lucky because we're giving away a $50 gift card to Wowak. And I feel like every source loves Wowak, right? And we also have a $50 store credit from Love Notion Sewing Patterns, and you already know how I feel about Love Notion Sewing Patterns. So two very amazing prizes. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and look for our hackathon post so you can enter the giveaway. So let me know in the comments what you think about my skirt hack, and also let me know which pattern you'd like me to hack next. Y'all know I'm a queen pattern hacker. I've been hacking since the ages of time. It's something I really love to do, and that's why I was so happy when Chris contacted me for this. I feel like this is right up my street. Like, this is the most Kira challenge ever. So enjoy the video and leave me some nice comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! So the first thing I did was a mock-up to make sure I know what I'm doing. So I did a back and front mock-up of the shorts length. So that's like a knee length skirt. So this is the back, and you could see here where the crotch point was and how I drew a line to discard of the crotch to turn this into a back skirt. I also adjusted the dart a bit, and I graded from the smallest size 38 at the waist to the largest size hip, which I think was 46. And so, like I said, this is the knee length version, and then this is the front, and you could see again the crotch point of the pants and the fly. And so this is a skirt with a center front four line. So I found it easier to do just like a basic pencil skirt from the pattern with a center front fold and then the center back seam. And so I will insert pictures of my mock-up, and then now I'm actually going to transfer these changes to my tissue paper in the correct length to make the maxi skirt, and also with some additional changes to the back dart. Okay, so this is my front pattern piece, and the first thing I am going to do is draw in the center front line because that is not there. They have the word center front, but they don't have the actual center front line, and that's obviously something I need. So I drew that with my orange friction pen because I like doing my adjustments with friction pens. In case I make mistakes, I can just iron it and it'll be fine. But I realized that you cannot see anything I just did. So I am going to go in with an actual real pen, which is very scary. And I hope I don't make any mistakes because this is my actual tissue paper. All right, there we go. I hope you can see that better now. So that is my the center front line, and the first thing I noticed is that the center front is not parallel to the grain line, and since I am making a center front fold, I obviously need that to be parallel to the grain line. So next thing I did was I extended the grain line all the way up to the top of the pattern, and the next thing I am going to do is I'm going to use the grain line and my ruler. I'm going to touch the top of the ruler to the top of the center front, and I'm going to draw a straight line all the way down parallel to the grain line. Ideally I should be using a Sharpie, but I am just afraid. The next thing I am going to do is do my grading, and I need to grade from the smallest size at the waist, which is 38, to the largest size at the hip, which is 46. And I am going to use the notch as my grading point. So I have that done. And so when I did my mock-up, what I did was measure across with the seam allowances included, just to get a gauge of how the waist and the hip would fit. And I found I actually needed to bring in the center front fold line by 5/8 of an inch. So of course you just want to do a little bit of measuring just to make sure. What you can do is print a pencil skirt pattern that fits you well, or just any skirt pattern that fits you well, and you can compare the waist and hip measurements, especially because the front does not have any darts. So that is something that you want to be mindful of. So I found for literally the perfect fit, all I had to do was bring in that center front line by 5/8 of an inch. There we go. And the last thing I am going to do for the front is figure out the length. So this is the line that I used for my mock-up, the cutting line for the shorts on the 46, because I'm bringing it down from the hip on 46 all the way down to the hem. And then I would go straight across on cutting line C. So I measured down, while I had the scales on, I measured down from this area all the way down, and I found that I needed about 18 inches more to hit the ground. So that is what I'm going to do. I am going to measure 18 inches from this line down. Measure twice, cut once, right? I feel like if every time I measure, I'm getting a different line. I did iron my tissue paper to make sure it is all good and straight. The last thing I am going to do is connect the, well, I don't need to do it on that side. That side has the center front. It's on this side. I need to connect the line within the shorts hem, like so. And that is literally the entire front finished. I'm not sure yet if I want to do an actual hem or if I'm gonna leave my hem raw. So I think I am going to add hem allowance just in case. So I'm gonna add an extra 1.25 inches or so, just in case I end up hemming. Now I'm just taking my my front that I did earlier. I'm just making sure that I'm still on track. Something that I am wondering though is I'm thinking I should do actually come straight down from the hip, because this was only a pencil skirt version, a knee length skirt version. What am I saying? This was only a knee length version. So I'm thinking that I actually need to not let it come in so pencil shaped, but then again my inspiration does have it pretty close and at the bottom. So, and because there will be that leg slit, I think I should be fine with it this straight, this skinny at the hem. So I have no idea. Y'all already know I am winging it, so I will figure that out when the time comes. In the meanwhile, I am just gonna put this aside and go ahead and do my back next. So here is my back pattern piece, and the back is definitely a little bit more complex than the front. So the first thing I'm going to do again is extend the grain line. Right here where it says center back, I'm going to start at the waist and I'm going to draw a line parallel to the grain line again. Alright, so I have my grain line extended all the way down, and then I have the line parallel all the way down. So I started the line right at where it says center back, and then again I am going to grade from 38 to 46 at the hip. And again, what I did was measure across from this line that I drew, and I found that I needed to add 5/8 of an inch. So on the front, I needed to take away 5/8 of an inch after I drew the center front line parallel to the grain line. On the back, I have to do the opposite. And because I am going to put in a invisible zipper in the back, I'm actually going to draw a 3/8 inch line instead, because I need the seam allowance to be 3/8 of an inch instead of 5/8 of an inch. Another thing that I found to do based on my mock-up was that I needed to change the dart drastically. And when I say drastically, I mean drastically. So I am using the smallest size, since I use that size for the waist. This time I am actually going to use my orange pen. So that's going to make it easier for me to see. So that is the original dart. I'm also going to draw in the center point. So I found I actually needed to increase the length a lot and also the width, and I contemplated splitting it into 2 darts because of how much I had to change this, but I ended up deciding in the end that I will just do the 1 dart, because on the mock-up it looked perfectly fine. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I'm gonna check my mock-up to see how much I had to increase that dart. Okay, so in length it actually increased by 2¼ inches. I'm just gonna extend that. And then in width, here you can see how much I was playing around with different lengths and different widths as well. I think I ended up going for like 1¼ on each side of the dart, which is a lot. This is a pretty wide dart. Okay, so I hope you can see my new dart is very different from the original dart. It's extended 2¼ inches, and on each side, instead of there being a little, this is a less than 1/4 inch on each side, it is now 1¼ inches on each side. And that is my new dart. And the good thing about darts is that if on my final I don't like the way this looks, I can always just create an additional dart and remove some from this, because I am using a different type of fabric and that may affect it. So the next thing I need to do is the length. I need to go ahead and add the 18 inches down from the hemline. It is currently pouring outside and I have a strong feeling that you can hear the rain, so my apologies. And again, because of this creasy tissue paper, even though I pressed it, I'm going to do measure twice, cut once, or more like measure 4 times, cut once. Seems like this one is going a lot better than the front. Alright, this one is pretty straight. So the only other thing I need to do is straighten out this line again. I don't know what you did. Whatever you did, you didn't do it right. This is the reason why I'm happy I did a mock-up and I have this to check back my work, because I'm realizing I definitely drew this line the wrong place. So it's actually a good thing I didn't cut it. I am realizing that I actually drew the line from here, not from the center back seam, but from the outside. That is where I drew that parallel line from. Another thing I'm noticing is for some reason on the back waist, I actually did not grade from the smallest size. I graded from the second to last size. Yep, I graded from size 40 instead. That actually probably has to do with why I had to take in the waist so much, why I needed such a big dart. So now this is going to change the dart because this should have actually been graded to size 38. So I'll come back to that after, but what I really want to focus on right now is the fact that I did the wrong line here. So that is going to change by like a good couple of inches actually. So it's a good thing I double checked. So ignore everything I just said. And instead we're doing on the outside edge parallel to the grain line. So now the new parallel line starts from the edge instead of on the center back seam. It starts right at the edge, and now I'm gonna add my 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to add my invisible zipper. So every other part of the pattern has 5/8 inch seam allowances except for the center back seam. And now I need to come back to this waist situation because it should have been graded to 38 and I had it graded from 40. So I am going to go ahead and do the grading from 38, and that means that my dart is actually going to be less. So what I'm going to do is I am going to trace the original dart again onto the fabric, and then I will just adjust it as I go to figure out the new dart. So the next thing that I did is I realized how high the back raise is going, because that's normal for pants, but with a skirt I actually don't need the back raise this high. So I'm gonna take it down 1/2 inch. So this is my new back skirt piece, and like I said, I will figure out the dart as I am sewing. I will try it on and I will pin the dart and figure out the size of the dart, since I did make that one change to the waist after my mock-up. So the back is good to go. Obviously there's still some work to do on the front, so I am actually going to go ahead and trace that front pattern piece so that I can have a full front skirt joined together at the fold line, because I want to do the asymmetrical leg slit situation. So I think I want to have a full skirt piece to work with. So I have gone ahead and traced the skirt, and I traced it as a full skirt. So here you see it goes all the way over. And what I did end up doing is I ended up adding 1/2 inch. So from the knee where I had done the knee length skirt, I brought it out a little bit and just straightened that edge just to get a little bit more room, so it's not as pencil-y at the bottom. I have, like I said, a full skirt, and I also have another one underneath, another full skirt underneath, because I want the 2 full skirt pieces so I can figure out my asymmetrical thingamabob. So for the front, I actually don't need the tissue paper anymore. And then for the back, I also added the 1/2 inch. Here you can see where I added that extra and tapered it from the knee down. So again, it's not as pencil shaped, and it will match up perfectly with the side seam on the front. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out my second tracing of the skirt, and then I will go ahead and try to do some measurements to figure out where I want the straight line and where I want that leg curve with the slit. This is me trying to figure out the placement of the leg slit and also the line on my mock-up before I transfer it to my paper. Okay, so this is one of my full skirt pieces. As you can see here, this is the center fold. Here is the waist, and that's the hip, and then it goes down, right? After doing a mock-up, I think I have a pretty good idea of how far over I want my line to be. And this is going to be the vertical side that wraps over the other piece with the slit. So this one is not the one with the slit, this one is the one that wraps over, which means all I need to do for this is draw my line parallel to the center fold all the way down in a straight line, and I have decided on 3.5 inches. So now all I have to do is cut on this line all the way up to the waist, and that is going to be my wrap over piece. I am not adding seam allowance because I actually want to use the selvage of my fabric as a design line. This is my fabric. It's a two-tone linen with pink and white, but the selvage has the lovely hot pink color and it's giving Barbie. So as soon as I saw the lady at the fabric store cutting it, I knew I wanted to use the selvage as a design line. I do not need to add any seam allowance, but if you are not using your selvage, you want to add seam allowance so that you could turn under that edge and have it nice and clean. Ta-da! So I am going to discard of this for now, and this will be my new right front. So I am going to write on it just so I remember. This is the right front, and I'm gonna put 1 with right side up. I also think I am going to omit this pocket because my inspiration only has the cargo pockets with the pleat, which also comes in this pattern. So I think I'm going to omit this one and just use the cargo style pocket with the pleat. This is my other front piece, and so the idea with this one is to have a mini skirt come all the way across and then curve down into the leg slit. I'm doing it that way so that I don't have to worry about the one that is overlapping, opening out, especially when I sit down. I like the coverage of having that extra mini skirt underneath. So essentially I will be having 2 front skirt layers. One which has the leg slit coming all the way over to the side seam, anchored in the side seam like a regular skirt, and then the piece that overlaps, which will have a line, the line coming down that laps over the slit area. Right now I am just using the mock-up to transfer where I want the slit to start. I actually wanted to start a little bit lower than on my mock-up. The one on my mock-up was a little bit too high for my liking. So I am just lining this up on top of the other one so I could kind of mark exactly where the slit is starting. Now I'm gonna mark another line, another dot rather, 2 inches below that dot. I'm gonna mark a line parallel to the green line across from that dot. And according to my mock-up, I came over 3 3/4 of an inch. I'm pretty much playing connect the dots at this point. Just trying to transfer the slit from my mock-up. So this is where the overlap will be, and then the slit will come up and essentially curve like this. And then the mini skirt would come all the way across underneath. But I'm just realizing that I forgot to add hem allowance because on this one I will be doing facing. So I actually do need to add 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, not hem allowance, seam allowance. So this is my mini skirt line, and then it's gonna curve like this. Trying to find the right angle. So this is what it will look like when the right side is overlapped on top of it, you'll have this little curved like slit peeking out. It will actually be on this line because I'm gonna do a hem facing that is sewn with a 5/8" seam allowance. Actually, I just had an idea. I think I have pink bias binding. And if I do have pink bias binding, that is actually the perfect thing to use to finish this. This is my bias binding stash and my fabric. And I have light pink bias binding, which is literally almost a perfect match. And I also have hot pink bias binding. So that is the answer to my question. I am not even going to bother to cut a facing. I will just use bias binding. And since bias binding only has a 1/4" seam allowance, that is going to change what I just did. I'm going to use the actual pen for this. So now, when this one overlaps, this is what the leg slit would look like. And then I would use my bias binding, and then it would actually be on this line when it's finished. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this now. I'm a little bit worried about how little fabric is at the bottom. So now I can go ahead and cut my fabric and get this all sewn up. And I will give you a little bit of snippets in between. I'm not going to record a full sewing tutorial because obviously the pattern hacking tutorial would have taken up a significant amount of time already. So today is extremely noisy. I have grass being cut as well as painters around the building, so I hope you can hear me. This is what I have done so far. I have my back zipper in and I've sewn all the way down my back, my center back seam. I do not know why this lining is puckering so much. It's actually annoying me slightly, but because of time I'm just gonna press on. Can't do anything about that. I have pinned my pockets and my pocket flaps. These are the pocket flaps with one side interfaced, and this is the pocket pleat. Here's my instructions to do the pockets. I have also just done the bias binding along that long curved piece. I just trimmed with the pinking shear so that I can then press this and turn it in and top stitch. That is where I am at so far. So as soon as I have the full front assembled, I will come back and show you what that is looking like. So I have the two skirt pieces basted at the top, not basted, pinned at the top and the side. This is what it is looking like, and I am going to go ahead and actually baste them together so they will function as one front piece. So I had to stop recording because it was just way too loud outside, but I am getting there. This is what it is looking like. I have my cargo pockets on both sides. I am going to go ahead and cut my waist facings now. I have finished messing around with the darts. As you can see, I took them in multiple times because, listen, if you've worked with linen, you know the struggle. One of the problems I'm having that is annoying me is that my side seams and my center back seam are looking very puckery in this fabric, and I don't know why. I have pressed them till I can't press them no more, and they're still puckering. So I guess those will have to stay that way. So like I said, I'm going to do my waist facings and my belt loops because I'm gonna sew the belt loops into the waist facing, and then I will, when I turn them out, then I'll top stitch to form the loop like this. I am only gonna do 2 loops, one on either side, and then I will also put on my buttons after I do the facing and the belt loops, and then I will hem, and then after that it will just be to make the belt. I checked and I don't have any gold eyelets to go with my gold belt buckle, so I am going to try to run to the store and see if I have any gold eyelets. It is currently Monday evening and this is due on Wednesday, so fun times. I am literally at the finish line. I have my buttons sewn on. I actually sew them a little bit too far apart earlier, and I had to take them all off and hand sew them all over again. So my buttons are going through both layers because I don't need these to be functional. I don't need any buttonhole or anything. So now I just need to use the iron to remove all of my markings. I made a belt, y'all. I made an actual real belt with eyelets and a belt buckle and everything. Went smashingly. And the last thing I have to do is just tack my facings at the side seams because they are definitely trying to come out. That is it. She's all ready. I figured out my styling. As you could tell, I'm going for like Barbie because Barbie is trending. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial and enjoy my photos and my videos.